Hello everyone. Welcome to the Energy Club podcast. I hope you are enjoying the Energy Club podcast series. Like always, today we would like to introduce you our esteemed speaker, Dr. Abhik Banerjee. Dr. Banerjee, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Banerjee did his PhD from National Chemical Laboratory, Pune. Later, he joined Wilson National Institute of Science and Technology in Korea. He has worked on synthesis of new sodium supersonic conductor for fabrication of all solid-state sodium-ion battery. Then he moved to San Diego and joined University of California as a postdoctoral fellow. He was working on synthesis of novel lithium and sodium solid electrolyte for next generation solid state lithium and sodium ion battery technology. At present, Dr. Banerjee is associated with Research Institute of Sustainable Energy, RISE, where he is developing new ideas on how to design energy materials and devices for a clean and green future. His association with Research Institute of Sustainable Energy is interesting, and I would like to start the podcast with this point. So, Dr. Banerjee, can you tell us about your current research institution?
Yeah, so this is kind of a one initiative which has been taken from one industrialist called Dr. Punendu Chatterjee. You must be aware of the Chatterjee group, especially for the Haldia Petrochemical and the TCG Life Science. So he had a mission to build a research institute, in India, and which is based on very futuristic, the technology. This is something what he started 2 years before, and then there are four pillars basically. There is no undergrad course here. It's only based on the research. So people will get the degree, PhD degree, and they'll do the research. And mostly there are initially there are four pillars are there initially, which one of them is the quantum computing. What is the another one is the Institute of Advanced Intelligence, and another one is the translational neuroscience, and the last one actually, which where I am the principal investigator, is called the Research Institute for Sustainable Energy. Okay, and for my pillar, the research will be mostly focused on the energy storage, especially on the solid state battery technology.
We will be happy to listen about your journey to San Diego and your research experience.
Yeah. So basically, my research experience started when I joined NCL Pune as a PhD scholar. Before that, I was a chemist. I did my bachelor's and the master's in chemistry, and then when I went to the join for PhD in NCL Pune, so the lab I joined is I joined under supervision of the Dr. Satish Chandra Ogle. So when I went there, the initial 2-3 months I saw there is the mostly research was mostly based on the energy. There is the energy conservation, the energy storage, and the energy generation also. All the aspects of the energy was there at the research, and then eventually I realized that which is the most important. So if you see the cost of the solar, basically the energy generation, the way the solar energy and the wind energy are going down, the battery cost is not going down such a way. Okay, and then we have been generating electricity for more than 200 years by burning coals, but then we feel it's our responsibility to reach the electron everywhere. Like when you driving car, at your home you can just plug in everything and you can play, right? But how can you reach the electron to a car where you cannot just plug in something and then driving your car? So there are a lot of motivation like this. Like another one is like a grid storage, right? If you really want to be dependent on the renewable sources of the energy like wind energy and the solar energy, I think the one of the major problem is the supply and the demand, and the chain is not always the consistent. Sun always doesn't shine, wind doesn't blow always, right? So you always have to have some storage. for that. Okay, and in some places the sun shines more, the intensity is much higher. In some places you see the cloud is cloudy. So it's like energy generation is and the way the energy generated, it has to be properly stored. So the whenever the demand is there, you can supply, and that is only happens through the storage. Okay, so renewable energy without storage is never a solution. So that is something was motivated me along, and then I started my journey from NCL Pune, and then started working on the battery, and then I finished my PhD, and then I initially my work was mostly on the liquid electrolyte based, and mostly on the nanostructures, materials, and how does it help to the enhance the performance of the battery, lithium ion battery, as well as the supercapacitors also, and then. Then I realized that something is very important is the safety of the battery, and that can be only mitigated through the solid state technology. And then one of the lab in Ulsan in UNIST, there is very good lab for the solid state battery. So I went there for postdoc for 1 year and couple of months there, and I worked on the how to synthesize and how to fabricate the solid state battery. This is very confidential. I mean, there are very few labs in the world who are expertised in the solid state battery, proper fabrication and the proper synthesis, maintaining the proper protocol. That is one of the best lab. So I learned there, and then I moved to UC San Diego after that, and then I mostly UC San Diego, my mostly work was focused on the solid state battery. So I was involved primarily in two projects. One is from Shell, that was on the solid state sodium ion battery, and one is from the LG, that is the solid state lithium ion battery. And that was the two things actually mostly focused, both from the fundamental side, like it starts from the basic ab initio, the calculations, computation side, from there to like a basics characterization sides, all kind of microscopic, spectroscopic or diffraction based characterization, and then also the fabrication sides also, like lot of fabrications part we worked. And so I spent almost, as I said, 3 years there, and then learned not only the solid state battery. The group was quite diverse in different battery sectors, like zinc, like lithium metal, like a lot of high sodium ion battery, like lithium rich cathode, layered oxides, lot of things. So I learned a lot, and then finally it is something I realized I always wanted to definitely come back to India, and then my dream was to build in lab for the battery lab and do something from the India, which is useful in Indian scenario as well as the world scenario. And that is why I got an offer from Dr. Chatterjee to build a new energy lab, which is based on the energy storage. And then I moved to Kolkata, and then joined TCG Crest. And
Right. So you talked about taking electrons everywhere, and you mentioned about electric vehicles, and storage plays very important role in overall EV technology. So do you think India is ready for EV revolution? Because there needs to be infrastructure, then needs to be vehicles, and everything has to match. But how do
yeah,
you look at this scenario?
yeah. So I think the thing is that India, people always see India as a big market, but
Very true.
we have to think a different way. It is a right time for us to think perfect R&D on the battery from the Indian side, because the thing is, if you want to build a battery, it's a very easy job. If you can give any undergrad or any class 12 standard student, there is protocols are established, right? You get the materials, you build your lab, you can make a battery, but that is not a solution. You have to sell the battery. Okay. Now, if you want to sell the battery, then there are the multiple competitors out there. Then how can you sell the battery with the cheapest price? Okay. When it comes, then there is a challenge. Okay. Now, suppose a battery company who has like a 20,000 employee has been working for last 30 years. How can we compete them with selling a battery with the lowest price? Okay. Now, what we are doing in India, most of the cases, what we are doing in India is nothing but we are getting battery from the outside. We are assembling them and selling them according to customers. A customer demands, customers they are with the way they want, right? But the thing is, this is a perfect time we should build our own R&D and think, okay, how can we make some technology that is be useful, and so we can sell our own technology. We are not in a, we are a different part of the we are not in the competition already something. So I think that is why I think this is a good time. And once you say the electric vehicles, I think right now definitely, I mean, it's not only the making the electric vehicle, that I think there are four key challenges that really needs to be addressed, not in India, I mean everywhere basically. One is, I think, the range anxiety, right? I mean, we always full our tank and then we can drive 700 kilometers, right? But how can we do in the electric vehicle? I mean, that is not, I mean, that is something. So we have to increase the energy density of the whole battery, right? And if you see the only way right now the increase energy density is the lithium metals. Okay, so the everywhere in the world, like billions and billions dollars are spending, last couple of years. I mean, if you see the battery history started with the lithium metal, and there is a dendritic problem. The graphite came, and the other the anode materials came, and then finally people again switching to lithium metal, because we do not, finally it's kind of a saturation time. We cannot increase the energy density. So that is something we need to be done from the Indian side. Second thing I think is very important is the safety. Okay. So if you see, like, the normal 18650 cells, the how many cell Tesla use? 10,000 cells. Okay. So 10,000 cell Tesla using in a car equivalent to, like, you are going with a 10 dynamite. So you are driving a car with a 10 dynamite, and battery is kind of the electrolytes are very flammable, and so the safety is a major concern. The another is the charging. Like, if you go to the fuel petrol pump, you can just full your the petrol just for 10 minutes, but the batteries takes more than an hour. How can you charge a battery in 10 minutes? Then you really no need for like a 700-kilometer range. Even if the 300 400-kilometer range, you can charge in 10 minutes. That is something I think is very important. And I think the one of the most important from the industry point is the cost. Huh. So I mean, cars are available. They can go 400 miles. Tesla can go 400 miles, right? 350 miles, 400 miles. But the problem is that how can we? The cost is so high. So if the cost cannot go down to the level of the conventional IC engine, we cannot afford, the general people, and that's the way the revolution should come. So unless the cost come down, so that every people who can afford the IC engine car, they can afford the electrical, then it's a real breakthrough. So I think these are the main challenges, and that I think from the Indian sector, everyone should think, whoever has been working on the battery, and that is the motto of our institute also. We are also focused with these four goals. I mean, these are the four goals. How can we mitigate these four challenges?
Your opinion about a statement that we occasionally hear in the discussion. The bottleneck lies in the access and availability of raw materials when it comes to energy storage devices, and when we are thinking about scaling it up. So how do you look at this?
Yeah, I think it's a yeah. So if you see the 40% of the battery cost, 50% of the battery cost come from the cathodes, right? The cobalt and the nickel. And
Yes.
then if you see the supply chain, it's highly controlled from the Chinese side, right? Uh, so there are, I think, I mean, you have to develop your own eco, right? So that you have the proper raw materials. I mean, this has to be done, this has to be think from the very basic root, and from the government side also. But the government will only think when you bring something, when you give something to the government and see, okay, this is something important and this is can be done from the Indian sector, then they will think, okay. But there is some I think some what I say from the government side, that eco should be made parallelly. When we have some, the multiple labs are working on the battery, they are doing their R&D, something new are coming on, some of the things can be done into the can be tested, can be into the production level or the real industrial, and you can marketize and those things, then the scenario will come, then how can you make your own eco? Okay, so right now if you see there is a other all the, I mean, mostly is the control chain is controlled, the whole supply chain is controlled right now with the China, right? Okay, but the different places, like if you see Germany and then other places, people are working, people are building batteries also. Okay, so the I mean, once you develop your R&D, I think this will automatically will change. The eco will automatically will be developed. Okay. For example, the cobalt, right? 90% of the cobalt is stored in the Congo. Okay, and if you see, like,
Yeah.
it's most of the mines are controlled by these Chinese, and then a lot of like child laborers are involved, and they got like, like 40,000, more than 40,000 child laborers are involved, and cobalt is toxic, so they die also. So a lot of human right also, they also apply, they also make a lot of, rules and regulation, against this mining. So we have to think all these parameters, like, we have to also think, like, the resources, the plan, and that is something, one very important is the recyclability. I think that is something has been, research has been started for last 2 3 years, that if we just convert all the electric vehicles into all the vehicles, IC vehicle with the electric vehicle, we do not have that much resource. We do not have that much nickel, we do not have that much cobalt. So basically, unless we recycle the battery, it's not possible. Then recyclability is one of the way you can make your own eco, right? You can buy, and then eventually after 5 10 years you can recycle your materials. Then you make your recycle technology and recycle your own material and use them. Okay, so that is one of the other way that, every countries, all the countries have been, working, and then they are thinking this.
Yeah, so if I have to put this in nutshell, India needs a long-term strategic planning in this direction, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly. It's a long-term plan. We just cannot solve
yeah.
it tomorrow, or, the day after. It's very
So,
important.
what is the bottleneck here? Do you think technological thing is a bottleneck, or some policy side is a bottleneck, like, or is it a market that is pushing things?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I would say it's a market basically. I mean, that is something definitely pushing everyone out.
So, yeah, moving forward, like, how do you see the future of research in this context of pandemic that we are in right now? I'm sure you must have experienced few changes in your way of research also. How do you look at?
I think I would say working in the lab is kind of not possible, right? In pandemic situation, most of the
Hmm.
cases. So this is, I think, a good time to enrich yourself, with something new, new characterization tools, learning new things. Like I have been learning, like, the lot of 3D drawings, which will be required for in my lot of refinement, like, how do you
Hmm.
refine a lot of, spectroscopic data, and also, like, you can
Hmm.
this is the good time to read about the news about your research, like how does the evolving every day, that is something is very important. And the most important thing which I'm enjoying right now is the pandemic situation is the teaching. So with all my students, actually, I've been meeting for like, 3 or 4 times in a week, and then every meeting goes for 3 hours. So that is something where we are exchanging our thoughts. And also, this is a good time to design a new problem. Okay, I mean, normally what happens when you in the lab, you work in the lab, and then you get tired, you sleep, and you really don't get to time about the think about I mean, how can we do some breakthrough? And this is a good time that you can chat, you can talk, and everybody have some kind of a creative ideas, right? Creative mind.
I guess most of us can relate to what you said. Like the interaction between faculty and student, the interaction time has increased because since we are
Yeah,
online and
exactly.
with a click we can connect with each other. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, coming to the end point, like, do you have anything for IITB students with your rise, like the institute that you are working? Do you have any proposal or research topic or any idea or any inspiration thing that IITB students can collaborate with?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I believe basically the collaboration is mandatory. I mean, as I said, everyone has some kind of a particular genius things. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are one of our plan is to actually host a lot of IIT students for their projects, so that they can come and learn basically a lot of very state of art, lot of techniques, and the understanding the problems of the batteries, the current batteries also, as well as they can, with the time limitation of 1 year or 6 months, whatever, they can also publish, or they can do some good work also. And that is, then once you do those kind of things by your own hand, and you generate some data, and you feel it, and you do a lot of characterization like Raman, AFM, XPS, some kind of a microscopy, X-ray microscopy, or kind of a any kind of things, then you actually realize, okay, you feel the problem, right? And that basically motivates us. I mean, one of our the main goal is to not only the research, how can we motivate the young students so that they can come and spend time for a few months, and then see, okay, how does things work, okay, and to motivate them also. So I think, yeah, this is something we'll planning for the collaborate, and then we'll be hiring a lot of the IT students. And I think I would say to all the students, I mean, whoever in the energy right now, I mean, I say the one thing, like, what is the greatest discovery for the last 200 years? If you say, I would say the Harvard board synthesis, the ammonia synthesis, basically. I mean, we are here, me, you, and the whole world. Every people are single peoples are here because of the synthesis. Because that is why we get the food, right? That is why the ammonia is synthesis. Okay, so if you see current right now, the most challenging, the things we need to solve is the energy. Okay, I mean, how can you mitigate, how can you completely dependent with the renewable energy and reduce the carbon, the CO2 emission completely nil? Okay, so I think that is from all the young generations, I mean, who have started working any aspect of the energy, I think they should really involve, and then do some magic, because I believe, like, any kind of breakthrough technology is nothing but the magic. Okay, it's nothing but this is it's the same like a magic. What Harvard was did 120, 140 years before, it's just a magic, basically. Okay, so we need to do those kind of one magic, which can change the world, and then it makes us sustainable for again 500 years. And this is the perfect time, what I believe, because the way we are consuming all these fossil fuels, all these things, basically, we need some kind of those kind of a magic we need. That's why I think young generation should really think, and then just jump into the problem and try to give whole day, night, thinking about the problem and try to solve this.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point to take note of. Thank you so much, Dr. Banerjee, for your valuable time. The session was fantastic. It's been great pleasure to have you here. I'm sure this podcast will guide students to take informed decisions with what you have shared with us.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. I think it is also very great pleasure for me to even talk with all of you.